Yeah, I'm not particularly attached to it.
Hmm.
My original motivation for it was I think I played some games where uh somebody just kept failing, right? And they had like no successes. And so that like the player was just kind of depressed,
Right.
and it wasn't this game, it was some other game. But I had that in mind when I came up with that.
Which is
So
which is not the,
yeah.
it's perfectly
Mhm.
reasonable to be looking at a play experience and saying, all right, well, I'm riffing off of what I've seen. But it is also worth pointing out that I have seen people roll horrifically badly through a Troll Babe adventure and not be depressed.
And have a good time.
Right.
Sure. Yeah.
So why is that? What is going on there? How is that different? And so it's that variable, whatever the differences are. If failures mean, okay, let me back way up. Let's take a game in which you have to wait a lot before you get to do something. And when you get to do it, it's all of what you do. So, we all roll initiative and you are basically frozen until it's your go. And then you've got your full move, your full attack, your full perception, your this, your that, your everything. And then when your turn is over, you freeze again. Okay. And
Okay.
so let's say we have that kind of a system, first of all. And let's have it be a system with some benefit of success. You can dink a few hit points off the foe or, try your skill roll to do this or that, but you have some benefit of success. But the effect of failure is pretty much okay, no sell, next person. You missed that the monster takes no hit points off, nothing else happens of any interest, and next person. And so basically, you waited all this time for your go, and your whole go is there. There's no decision you could make during anyone else's turn. There was no way to change up the order of turns based on some
Mm.
resource. There was no dynamism, to your participation. And you will see people desperately attempt to pump up the drama of what's going on by having their characters basically have opinions about one another so that they're paying attention to what each other is doing and the player is attempting to kind of participate through the medium of their character reacting. Because what else are they going to do? They can't do anything. They're effectively frozen. So might as well just do reaction shots. Another thing is to keep shouting, can I, and how about this, and how about that, and basically try to, you know, fill the air with your, you know, negotiation with the system. Um, and a third thing to do in that situation is basically um, check out. You just check out until it's
Yeah,
your
I was
go.
going to say
Yeah,
text your friend or
right,
something.
exactly. And
Yeah.
so with all that, then a series of failure basically means your character might as well not have been there,
Yeah.
and that's depressing.
Yeah.
So if instead we have failures in which it's not just that you get, an arrow punched through your heart and you fall over dead, but failures which are going to change up everything for everybody, and successes that are going to change up everything for everybody. I mean, I'm taking it to the further extreme. The
Right.
further extreme is where every single roll, crazy quilts the fight, right? And
Yeah.
there's obviously, you know, if a system is going to err, if a system's going to go too far, I think I'd have more fun going too far
Yeah.
that way, right? So so that's why I keep focusing on. It's not just like the dire consequences because getting killed due to a bad roll, kind of has that same. I mean, it's just a quicker way to take you out of play,
Yeah.
right? So you might as well not have been there. So I
Yeah.
guess that's really the question. Did it matter that your character was there?
Right.
And if we have a system with randomization in it, then one would expect the randomization to be a significant piece of the character's relevance to actual relevance to having for having been there.
And what
Yeah,
what you just said there, I think that's a pretty profound statement. Actually, like, does it matter that your character was there?
it's a huge issue for me.
Right? Yeah. It there's a lot in that.
Well, there's two
Yeah.
levels to it as well. There's the
Uh
level
huh.
systemically, mechanically. I do this, I do that. I go on this round, I don't go on that round. I get two attacks, I get one attack. There's a level about the character in terms of how they mechanically engage with all the action of one sort or another. Because we could be talking about screen presence just as easily as we're talking about rolling to hit. We could be talking about any aspect of being in play right now. And so we're talking about the character, yes, but let's not forget one more level of that, which is that does it matter? Let's take the same character sheet and the same scenario and the same everything else, same other people at the table. Does it matter that I was playing that character and not you?
Gotcha.
Right. And that is
Right.
also a level in this. I actually have a name for those two things, the way they work together,
Hmm.
which is agency.
Okay.
That's agency.
Both
Right.
of those together.
Yeah. Well,
Okay, that makes sense. Okay.
with obviously the player's relevance as a person being probably the senior partner of the two, but yeah,
Yeah.
they do interact obviously. So I guess a good way to look at it is is the first one the degrees and ways in which a character is involved in play through the procedures of play, the mechanics. Is that fun for the person in terms of being that person at the table? Right. And I don't think that's answered in the abstract. I think the next thing we do is we go look and say, how does the characters and situations change in this game? And how is all of that agency relevant to that? Can I look at what happened in play and say, I was a piece of that? My guy was a piece of that, and I was a piece of that. Um, or did it not really matter? I mean, or was it one of those things where we ran around making investigation rolls until we were 2/3 of the way through the allotted time, and the GM has us meet the squirrely guy who tells us it's all going down at the warehouse at midnight?
Right.
It doesn't, so it doesn't
Gotcha.
matter which characters were there. It doesn't matter who was playing those characters. Um, so those are some of my criteria
Uh-huh.
or principles of design, that I'm operating off of these days. So
Yeah, that's
yeah,
helpful.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, I also it keeps me from saying, well, why don't you try this with this system, right? And give all this system talk of specific mechanics that what would you recommend I use here? I'm kind of like, I'd rather say it this way and then have you go, oh, well, I want to do it like this, right? Out of your own wealth of
Right.
experience. Um, so with that in mind, that I guess brings us to, without nailing anything down too terribly, but let's go ahead and look at what you think of as a what do you think of as a mid-session situation that a bunch of characters could be in? And so let's just pretend it's a bunch of players who totally get your game and totally love it,
Okay.
and they've played their
Mm-hmm.
characters with gusto, and so after any number of early events in the session have occurred, where might they be right now, facing what, confronted with what, knowing what?
Gotcha. Um, wow. Well, there's so many possibilities. It's
Just
hard to
pick a
pick
good
one.
one. Just pick a good one.
Okay. Okay. So let's say it's mid-session. Let's continue like from the introduction that we talked about last time, right? So like you're all on this ship, and everyone has learned the horrifying truth, and they decide, well, let's mutiny and take over the ship. And let's say mid session, like, so some things have happened. Um, People have gotten some stuff together or tried to recruit other people, or whatever. And then maybe in the mid session, they're like, okay, for the next step in our mutiny, we should disable the emergency beacon so that the
We can't
when the
call the
command
cops.
crew find out,
Right. Yeah.
yeah, something like that. And it's located on the surface of the ship, so somebody's going to have to go out, EVA, and try to do that and avoid biots and security and so on and so forth. Probably might have to bribe or um, convince another guy or take him out, some guard or something, something like that. Does that
Sure.
make sense?
So what we are
Okay.
basically facing is a set of physical and social criteria that are deeply, deeply averse to the players doing whatever it is they're trying to do. By mid session, it makes sense. I guess this is what I was aiming at and seeing if I was right. By mid session, either they have called the forces of hell down upon their heads, or they're about to attempt something which only a maniac would attempt because the situation really is that dire. So, either way, either, the hounds are on you, or you're about to do something that requires immense risk and, um, you know, consequence.
Okay.
So, it would be kind of interesting. I mean, this is the kind of game where you could see a total party kill, and everybody's hoping to see whether the ripple effect is
Oh,
successful,
right.
right? I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
this
yeah.
goes down in the annals of the revolt, right? As this
Mm-hmm.
event, and yeah,
Mm-hmm.
they all died. It's kind of cool,
And then
right?
and then that could become part of like the backstory. Like you could
Of
say,
course.
remember Ron, or
Hmm.
just whatever.
Right, right,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah.
And so the whole the so okay, in this situation, then we now find ourselves in the question of how do we say what we're going to do and how does it interact with the circumstances of what we're doing, um, and to what extent. Now this is something that I'm having a little trouble enjoying in the Star Trek game.
Mm.
There
Mm.
is a lot of, for lack of a better word, stage setting for the role. I mean, you're bringing in a lot of things. You're bringing in your character, maybe the ship. Either you're using the ship's characteristics if you're like literally like operating the ship's gears and levers, or you're using your own if you're trying to punch someone or something like that. And you are deciding whether to draw on a number of different resources that are available to you. You've got the group pool called momentum you could draw on. You've got the your own determination and your character's value system that you could be drawing on. Do you bring in a trait? Do you uh, uh, do hands the game master threat, which is their currency? Do you give the game master threat for more dice? Do you uh, get an assist from player characters or supporting cast? Um, do you uh, say, okay, wait, we're going to do that, but we're also going to have this other thing going on with the guy at the ship's library. We're going to call up the guy at the ship's library, and he's going to like punch in stuff too. So he's going to get his own role, which is going to be, hitting at a slightly different angle from mine. Um, and you can spend like a lot of time. You can spend a lot of time basically in fictional limbo,
So it's
effectively directing. I mean, the characters are running
mm.
around left and right, calling each other, talking to each other, agreeing to do these things, and so all this fiction happens to make this occur, but you don't play any of it.